Please note that the content of this episode has explicit language and is not suitable for underage listeners.
Hi, I'm CJ, and I've done phone sex for 23 years. Let's get started. I wanted to start with a reminder again to go on YouTube, like and subscribe to my YouTube channel, hit the notification bell so you don't miss a podcast that drops every Monday. This has been a week of cuckold calls. Like I said, subjects ebb and flow. For some reason this week, that has been the number one topic, cuckolding. I decided to make this episode about cuckolding. People have a lot of questions about it. There's a lot of curiosity. So I'll tell you about the calls I've had this week and then some insight or answers to questions. And I hope that I will be able to help you with that a little bit. I received a call and the caller has fantasies. And the way this call went was I had to ask him questions. He wasn't very forthcoming unless I asked him questions. So when someone says they have a fantasy, I never know if it's a role play or they just want to tell me something. That's a really difficult thing to sort out because the only way to find that out is if I ask questions. Sometimes when you ask too many questions, they get frustrated and hang up, or they're nervous, or whatever the case may be. So I have to sound more curious than anything else. That way they can explain it to me what they're thinking. The thing was, after asking him multiple questions, is that his wife has gone out and had sex with bigger men. He says he found that out because she eventually told him. And so what he does, or what he did, is he's gone out and found men that were large. He says this was his first time being with a man or men. I asked if he enjoyed it, and he said he really did. He said he went on one of the websites and found a bunch of guys. Then after talking to him a little while longer, he said he had a cum fetish. You all may think you know what that means, but it could be a number of things. And what I did find out was he wants his wife to go out, have sex with a couple of different people at the same time or in the same evening, day, whatever, come home and let him clean her out. That's really what the crux of this was all about. Not only was it about the cuckolding thing and him being too small, but it was about him wanting the cum after she had sex. It took a lot to get there. It took a lot of questions, and I was not comfortable asking these questions because I figured at one point he would want to role play this or something, and I thought he would just hang up, which he eventually did, but it took a while. He didn't seem too comfortable about the whole thing. He wanted to talk about it, wanted to tell me he had been with men. It was his first time. He really enjoyed it. He didn't want to tell her about it. He just wanted to tell me about it. I don't think it was a non-truth. I think it was something new to him. He was trying to feel his way around it. I don't know if this was a fantasy or real life, but either way, I hope he got what he wanted. I believe it was true that he wants her to continue going out and having sex with these guys. I know sometimes the women bring the men home. In this particular case, she was not bringing them home. She was doing it out of the house and then coming back. So there's all different kinds of ways this can be done. And every relationship is different. I had another cuckold caller who said that he knew he had a small penis. Let me just interject and say when people use proper words like breast and penis, it sounds weird to me because I'm so used to people using the other words. I kind of forgot about what the anatomical words are because I rarely hear them. It's kind of odd to me, but anyway. So this guy calls and says that he's been in a cuckold relationship for several years and he loves it. He's small, his wife goes out, brings men home, and he either just watches in the corner of the room and masturbates, or he helps get the guy hard and guides him into his wife, or he's played with the guy separately, and then after they're done, then his wife gets her fun. He wanted to tell me how much he enjoyed this and that they've spoken about stopping doing this because she just wants him and he doesn't want to. He says he realizes that he isn't large enough for her to satisfy her, and that upsets him. He wants to continue the relationship where he only gets to have sex with his wife once a month, and that's enough for him. He hopes that she goes along with continuing this behavior. He says it looks like she's enjoying herself, but as they've gotten older, she's not wanting to hurt his feelings, and he is assuring her that his feelings are not hurt. He really just called to tell me all that. He did want to know how I felt. I told him every relationship is different, And whatever two people agree upon, that's fine with me. He then said he wanted to know really what my opinion was and not just some agreeable opinion. I told him that this was fair and that if it were my relationship, I wouldn't want to do that. But I don't really know. It doesn't work for everyone. He understood that and said that he would keep me informed of how it goes, and I appreciate that. I don't know if I'll hear from him again, but I said thank you and I appreciated the call. That segues into a question that I've received from people listening to my podcast about cuckolding. People want to know if it's a good idea or a bad idea. It's between the two people in the relationship. It's definitely a conversation and something not to be taken lightly. I can't say because it's not my relationship. It's not my place to say if it's good or bad. How does an outsider ever tell someone that's in a relationship what's good or bad? As long as you both are agreeable and it's not hurting you. So, does a relationship like that start? Somebody asked me that. I don't know. But from what I hear, I will tell you what I do know. People get in relationships and they have sex. And typically, a cuckold relationship is because a man is small and cannot fulfill the woman while having sex. She either doesn't feel it or it's not thick enough, deep enough, long enough, whatever. So either the woman or the man comes to the other person and says, "Hey, I've got this idea. Why don't we bring somebody else into the relationship and see how that goes?" That's how it starts. Then there's the whole thing about jealousy. The thing is, people get jealous and they become attached. And how do you prevent that from happening? How do you prevent any jealousy or attachment from happening? That's really difficult. I say don't ever have sex with the same person twice. It's one and done. That way, there's no attachment. You just move on to the next person. You can't just have conversations and do it. You have to really think about it, think about everything and the consequences, the possibilities of what could happen. Fortunately, no one has asked me if they should do it. They're either in it or they're contemplating it and telling me the reasons why. I find it to be very complicated and serious, not to be taken lightly, and it's up to you. And all I would say is have a lot of conversations about it. The part of this is the arousal of the person who's not involved in the sexual act. The person who's not involved and they're just sitting watching, they get very aroused by it and they enjoy it. So although it's usually started because the man is not adequate, they are aroused by the thought of their partner having sex with someone who's larger than them. That gives them tremendous satisfaction. Boundaries need to be set, communication throughout the whole process. Like I said, if someone wants to stop and the other one doesn't, then you need to communicate and figure out how this is going to work. It's very complicated. I have yet to hear where someone starts it and after a while stops it. I think the stopping part is really hard, especially if the woman's the one having sex with multiple partners. She wants to stop for whatever reason, but more likely it's the other person who wants to stop. And it's like I said, very complicated and certainly not for everyone. Typically you would call this cheating, but your partner knows about it, so it's not cheating. Now, the gentleman in the first story who went out and found men for himself, he did not tell his wife. So that is an added complication to their relationship. Whether he tells her or not, I did not offer any advice and he did not ask. I don't know if it's a one and done thing that he wanted to go try it himself. That's up to them. I don't want to get in the middle of anybody's relationship, whether they ask me or not. I just kind of listen, and that's my job. Don't get me wrong. It's not only because a man is small that these are the reasons that I mostly hear about. It could simply be for the thrill of the experience, a non monogamous relationship enhancing their sex life. You never know what it could be, but for the most part, it's been in my experience lack of being able to satisfy the partner. That's number one. Hope this has answered some questions. It's really a complicated relationship, I'll tell you. If you have any more questions, comments, anything you want to say about it, if you're in a cuckold relationship, I'd love to hear from you too. I'm happy to speak about anything you're interested in. If you think I'm full of shit or think that I'm wrong, I'd be happy to hear from you. That's what I know. And there are more people in this than one would think. I think the percentage is small, but it's still more than I thought because people keep calling me. I got another question, and that was, do gay people get into cuckold relationships? And the answer to that is yes, they do. Whether it's gay or lesbian, they do. And so they're not immune to this type of relationship. And I think any two sexual people that are together can get in this type of relationship. It's not just because a guy has a small penis. It's really about bringing someone else in, and it's typically not a threesome. It's one person is typically, again, it's not an exact science, but some person is typically left out of that physical relationship, and another person's brought in for the arousal of both. So I just wanted to throw that in there, that it's any relationship with two people. It's not just in the heterosexual world. I found that out. So thank you for that question as well. That's all for now. Thank you for listening to Secrets from a Phone Sex Queen. Everything you always wanted to know about phone sex and more. Please reach out to me with your questions and comments at phonesexqueen, the number one at gmail.com. Episodes drop every Monday. Check me out on Facebook at CJ's Podcast and Instagram and TikTok at Phone Queen One. If you're listening on YouTube, please don't forget, like I said, to like, subscribe, hit the bell so you get notified when a podcast is dropped. Until next time, stay sexy.